호호 백발이 웬 말인가 헌시구. Doesn't that make you want to go to Seoul? Doesn't that give you the energy of Asia? Well, we were in Seoul just 2 weeks ago, and I tell you what, the country just reopened, and the energy is buzzing. The land that gave us K-drama, more than we could possibly watch. How many got hooked on K-drama during the pandemic? It is in full throttle. The market is in full throttle, and their biggest K-pop star, BTS, continues to pull in visitors. Their last concert in Busan, which was part of their bid to host the World Expo 2023, attracted 20,000 foreign visitors, as well as virtual streaming through 2 metaverse channels. So did you know, too, that in 2019, South Korea was the second largest outbound market in Asia, generating 28 million trips. So what happened during the pandemic changed the landscape. Local players have emerged. Names like Yanoja, Good Choice, Naver, Kakao, My Real Trip. Remember those names. Did you know, too, that this month, humanity crossed the 8 billion mark? And guess what? The future is Asian. So here to take you on a whistle-stop tour of Asia, please welcome my 3 tour guides. We have Tim Hughes, Vice President Corporate Development of Agoda. We have Kei Shibata, CEO, Venture Republic and Trip 101, and Mary Lee, CEO and founder of Atlas. Please welcome your tour guides.
I like that picture. So
I know, looking very active, all 3 of them. So to begin, I asked each of them to bring an object that means something to them from Asia. So I'm going to begin with Kei. What's your object that you want to share? What is that?
this is, you guys, everybody probably knows a Kit Kat, right? The Kit Kat chocolate, but this is actually the special version in Japan. Only available in Japan. This is specifically for sake flavor Kit Kat. It's so good, and you can't buy outside Japan. And then I always bring this guy. It's a little bit of souvenir for.
Okay, I'm keeping that after this session. Thank you so much. Okay.
You can actually
And Mary, what's the object?
So I always carry a small bell with me in Asian Chinese culture. So the ding ding dang dang will protect me, especially when I travel alone. My daughter does have the same one.
Okay.
Cute.
Very practical. What about you?
I'm very boring. I just carry I'm sorry, I'm disconnected. Can you hear me?
No.
I'm very boring. I just carry a Korean phone. That's the bit of Asia I bring with me.
You're the practical
Samsung,
working in Asia.
good battery pack.
Okay, right. So, most of you know that we were in Asia, were first in and last out of the pandemic. And, as you know, China is still closed. Most of Asia is open. But Tim, what is the most interesting thing that Agoda is seeing about the recovery in Southeast Asia?
I mean, the speed and resiliency of this recovery has taken us all by surprise. We spent 2.5 years locked down in domestic travel only. And yet, whenever there was a moment for people to travel across Southeast Asia, they took it. I think the Thais have seen more of Thailand than they've, in the history of the country. Same in Malaysia, same in Indonesia. The speed of this recovery was the one that took us, a lot. Yeah. The other thing, of course, was across the whole of Southeast Asia, every category of commerce shifted more online and shifted to the phone. So food delivery, groceries, content, e-commerce, and travel saw a marked shift in online.
Okay, so we're gonna go into that trend, and talk about how mobile has just kind of underpinned everything, right?
But the big one is the resiliency of travel was incredible. Yeah.
Okay, and Kei, I mean, Japan only really reopened October 11th. I flew via Narita. It was not really fully open, but it's a long-awaited reopening, and all reports are again phenomenal surge in inbound, and the low yen must be helping.
Oh, absolutely. So now I think it's, at this weaker yen level, everything is actually, it makes it so attractive. So my good friend, the economist guy, and Jesper Cole, actually, he was actually bringing up an interesting, statistics. So first, I think it's this famous Big Mac, the hamburger index, the price index. I think now you can still get the one Big Mac at the 390 yens, 90 yens, which is actually at about the $2.50. And he also researched the price of a Big Mac in Los Angeles is actually now $5.50.
Yeah.
So it's about half the price. So, if you are hungry kids, why not come into Japan and then eat Big Mac? So,
Eat Big Macs for half the price.
And then
okay.
what's more interesting is actually like a Japanese labor cost. It's still somewhere down 33,000 per year. And while at the same time, I think in the United States, I think the average wage is actually 69,000. Okay. Again, it's about half the difference. And then one more example: the Tokyo-based software engineer now comes about 30% cheaper than the one based in Ho Chi Minh City. Vietnam. So
good reason to shift your remote work base to
and
Tokyo.
Anecdotally, I felt that I came through Japan to get here to Phoenix, and I was stunned at the bills that I was getting, when converting it back even to Thai baht. It's a profoundly amazing time to go there. Yeah.
Okay, so Mary, we move to you, and you run a global low-cost flights business out of Singapore, and low-cost airlines have been driving a huge part of the recovery. And I have a slide here that shows the slew of startup airlines from low cost that has just started in APAC, and that's just a few of them. So how do you think this supercharged environment will change travel in Asia?
Yeah, let's talk about the supercharged low-cost carriers in Asia. So in Korea, there are 10 low-cost carriers. It's competing with 1 full-service carriers. In Japan, there are another 14 low-cost carriers. In India, there are 10 low-cost carriers, and they have more than 90% of market share than the full-service carriers. So before pandemic, 2019, 57% of the air capacity in Asia were driven by low-cost carriers. So what we can see from low-cost carriers, we can see then consumer, they like personalized, they like those kind of accessible, flexible. They want to buy something they like. They don't want to be forced.
So it's really, really good as Asia opens up in phases, and then we have all these startup airlines, really starting to help the recovery. But, we cannot ignore the fact that, I spoke a little bit with Rajesh about China, right? And you can see that China accounted for almost 30% of Thailand's arrivals in 2019, and that's, thank you, Atlas, for that slide. So, Tim, you brought out this trend. How do you think the industry, especially in Asia, will have to adjust to less Chinese travel?
Look, this is one of the hardest things that's going on in this recovery, is that we are missing a big chunk of the market. And it's really being felt by the hospitality industry inside of Thailand and Bangkok. But they've just had to pivot and change to get what demand is available. So, for example, you've seen a lot of work by the Tourism Authority of Thailand and others to bring Indians into Thailand. And you can see it on the streets of Bangkok, that there's been a success there. And similarly from the Middle East market, which is booming and has been desperate to go back. So you've just got to, as a country and as an industry, focus on the demand you can get and then that's available. So, but there's going to be a gap. Until China opens up, there's going to be a gap.
But as Rajesh says, it's probably too early to write it off. We shouldn't underestimate it, And Mary, you live in China, and you really just moved to Singapore in 2019 and got locked down in Singapore for 2 years. So what do you think of, I'm not asking you to guess, but there's good news out of China, 5 days now, quarantine versus 7 days. What do you think? Too early to write it off?
We can't predict, but I can see China's travelers, 155 million people within, we call it that's a huge population. It will take us to another big trend of travel demanding again.
Right, yeah. That's what, Timothy, you said yesterday as well, right? And this is the next surge that will come.
Next.
Okay, and for Kei, China accounted for 30% of arrivals to Japan in 2019. Big source of visitors for North Asia. Do you think India can fill a little bit of that void?
I personally think so. So we are very bullish about the Indian market, first of all. So we have a website in Singapore called Trip 101. That's actually like global travel content media. So we have users from 200 different countries now. And the biggest surprise this year is the India actually moved up to the second after the United States. So it's a clearly, that market is booming. And I had an interesting story I wanted to share with you guys. So at the ITB Asia a couple of weeks ago, I had a chat with the Mississippi Tourism Board.
Okay.
And then I asked them, so where's the biggest market that you guys actually really try to promote from? So then he said, India.
Right.
And then a lot of Indians already started traveling internationally, which is a completely different situation from, let's say, 5 years ago or so.
Yeah, it kind of reinforces what Rajesh said. There's a big reset going on, and it's an opportunity for us to switch lanes, right? So in this panel, we're going to switch lanes now. We're going to talk tech trends.
Yes.
And I asked each of you to pick the trends that you think, right? And Tim, you picked mobile. So tell me, how is this challenging product design as well? And how is this challenging OTAs like yourself?
Look, it's the biggest number one thing that had to change immediately was the way we do content, right? Especially images, right? Because travel loves the long distance image of the beach and the long distance image of the property, which is useless on a phone. So we've had to spend a lot of time not only re-architecting the technology around the content, but making sure we get different types of photographs that work better in that kind of environment. We also had to, all had to spend a lot of time in chat. Asia is a huge chat environment. There's different chat platforms. No one wants to call anybody, let alone call our call center. Email, a lot of people don't even use email. So we've had to spend a lot of time and money on how to do synchronous and asynchronous chat with our customer care teams. These are the things that you have to develop.
I mean, we saw from Rajesh, how the UI of Make My Trip went,
Right.
And all very simple black and white,
Yes.
right? And to prove how real mobile is, I picked up this headline where they actually have to forbid people to go online for a day, to help with people.
Right.
And Kei, you want to talk about chat? I know that's a big trend in Japan.
Yeah, so just to give some example of how big the chat and messaging is. So, since we made a strategic partnership with Line. Line is like a WeChat in Japan, Thailand, or Taiwan. It's a very, very popular app. So we've been basically doubling down on a chat and messaging and chat. And then one example is actually, so we just last year we launched the TMC service, only available on a corporate chat platform. So we don't have a website.
Right.
We don't use the emails. We don't use the phone calls. It's only every single conversation is taking place, and booking is also taking place in a corporate chat platform. It's been extremely doing well, and we also have we have also killed the email newsletter completely, like a couple of years ago, and then now the number of our followers on a Line platform is actually about 15 times more of our followers on Facebook, Instagram, Twitters, and mobile app combined. So.
Okay. Well, it's also a trend that is not limited to Asia. In the Middle East, for example, Elmo Sefer, which is the Middle East consumer brand, shared that WhatsApp is its highest. Sorry, go back. WhatsApp is its highest growth channel through the pandemic. So another big trend: videos and short form content. We've seen that, touching almost every part of the travel planning. And Mary, you picked social. So I want to talk a little bit about social.
Yes, social commerce has been a significant phenomenon in Asia. We Asians love influencers, right? So social commerce has generated 100 million transactions, especially in China, in Asia, for those stream living generate like for Accor, Marriott, in 1 hour, $100 million transactions. Behind of that, we can see Asia build strong technology infrastructure. They can connect with the social media smoothly and flawlessly and make all those generation transactions happen. That's what I can see.
Okay, so another area that I think we will move to is one area that mobile, I think the whole social, has impacted is definitely payments. We've heard a lot about it at this conference. So digital payments will account for 91% of transactions of e-commerce in Southeast Asia, And wallets are a huge part of that if you look at the mobile wallet. So, Tim, I mean, you ran a panel at WiT Singapore, and we had JP Morgan basically saying, you know, that OTAs had to start thinking and acting like banks.
Yes.
So talk to us about how Agoda is using payments now as actually creating opportunity for revenues versus it being a cost center.
Yeah. Look, I've said it many times in many forums, and I'll state it, if you're not a fintech company in travel, you're missing something. You need to be a fintech company. We're sitting at the heart of billions of dollars worth of transactions, and every basis point we can save or basis point we can earn just goes straight to the bottom line. So a couple of things happened to us during the period of COVID. Firstly, we revamped our supplier side completely, and we now issue our own virtual credit cards for payment. So we don't even go through a third party on that. We've effectively become a credit card issuing organization. And then secondly, because we were all trapped domestically, we had to dramatically ramp up our local payment services in each market. If you're going to be domestic in Indonesia or Korea or Japan, you need to not have 5 payment methods, you might have 10 or 15. And so we went to local payment methods that pre-COVID we never really considered. But because we were domestic only, we had to have everything covered. So a lot of activity in consumer payments and then a lot of activity in supplier payments.
Right. So let's move on to flights of the future. And I just want to, you know, at WiT Seoul, we heard like Seoul has emerged as the hotbed of competition for the electric vertical aircraft.
Yeah.
We had a speaker at WiT about that. And apparently it's perfect for a region with crazy rich people and bad traffic.
Right.
So we're just going to play the video if I can. Yeah. Okay, so how many of you want to go on this 15-minute touristic flight over Marina Bay Sands, which will be available by 2024? How many of you? There you go.
Terrifying. I'm not getting that.
Apparently, for the first flights, they will have a pilot to go with you.
Okay.
All right, so do you think one day, which is the intention with this urban air mobility, is we'll be able to order these taxis via Grab?
I think it's a long way off, right? I think it's 10 years minimum. But what I think is going to happen sooner that we're going to have to figure out as a people is when everybody starts having their own little personal drones. I think I got this vision in my head that the drone will become as ubiquitous as the phone, and we'll be able to constantly be just seeing things with drones. For example, instead of me wandering up and down the halls of the Marriott trying to find my next appointment, I'd be sending a little drone off to find out where the people are. I think that's something as a species we're going to have to figure out sooner than booking helicopters on Grab.
Yeah, I ran a panel at the airline conference, and they said that the total addressable market is like 25,000 aircraft, half of which will be in APAC, and half of that will be in China. So APAC is going to be a big market for urban air mobility. Anyway, stay on trends to watch. Mary, you picked innovative bundling as a trend. So you want to speak about that?
Yeah, bundling is a special terms from low-cost carriers. So it means not only you buy a seat, you buy something with you, but specifically you can buy options, rides you can refund and you can reschedule. And in China, in Asia, we have already built some innovation bundlings. We can buy past tickets if I'm a frequent flyers. According to next year, Singapore, Shanghai can buy 12 tickets in one time in a fixed price. We also build an ecosystem. We bundle airport, airlines, and hotels together. And even I help my parents to buy 5-star hotels branch passes for them. So bundlings has been like quite normal in Asia, in China.
Right. I mean, Asia blazed the trail in that.
Yes.
So speaking about flights, I mean, from flights of the future to innovative bundling, Tim, you guys are building out a flights business.
Yes.
So tell us, how's that going, and
Sure.
how is this low-cost landscape going to change the way you also bundle flights?
So we launched flights in late in the third quarter of 2019, so right before the world stopped. But we stayed investing in it. And it's expensive building a flight engine. So we put a lot of engineers through 2020, 2021 into flights. And we caught the early recovery, which was all domestic, which pushed us quite naturally to low-cost carriers, because that's what the domestic markets were. So we've spent a lot of time perfecting the low-cost carrier feed. We've now got the challenge as outbound and inbound returns, we've got to kind of try and do the same with long-haul carriers.
Right.
But it's a big investment. It's expensive. It's challenging. But we couldn't sit back and let our competitors own the airspace. That was just not possible anymore.
Yeah, I think one of the trends that we saw in Korea was how, companies that started specializing in one thing,
Yep.
right? And then during the pandemic, the lines just kind of started blurring, right? So everybody went accommodation, put in flights, tours and activities, put in hotels, and the sort of this blurring of lines that's happening. And so how do you differentiate now?
Well, I suppose you differentiate. Travel is always about the small differentiations. It's never about something huge. So you have to differentiate the way we always do, which is great price, incredible functionality on the website, customer care. It's all the core components of travel.
Right. So Kei, I mean, you run Trip 101, which is a content marketing site, and it's focused around vacation rentals, which is clearly a trend that you saw. But you started a meta search business in Japan, and clearly you saw that there was no future in meta search in Japan, and that's why you switched to Trip 101?
Well, I think this is kind of a big debate. I think it's I started making these days. I think it's to me, I think the traditional meta search model is almost broken. So A, I think the Google is actually already there, right? And then B, I think it's the industry consolidation has been happening deeper and deeper. So you think about when you're in America, I think it's you can think only like a few brands you want to probably go in terms of OTAs, right? Expedia, Expedia, Priceline, perhaps a Hopper, and not many others. And in Japan, for example, is the same kind of situation. So we have a couple large local OTAs, and then a couple large other like global OTAs, and then there's no point or less point to go to meta search and then search across the different OTAs. So that's the reason why we are taking a little different approach. We are actually doubling down on the content, and then the content actually can send the more powerful message to the users.
Okay.
Then they can understand what's the story of the, let's say, accommodation. Short-term rental is a great example.
So you're using accommodation as the hook versus flights. Mary, do you agree with that? I mean, your whole business is built around low cost, and you want to distribute low cost content to travel agents, whether they're online or offline, right? But yet, at the same time, low cost airlines, they're really good at direct business. So why would they need to go through a third party?
I think travel is always, ultimately, it's about experience. Selling a ticket is really boring. And today, when we heard from Frederick about how Hopper sells the travel products, so travel in the future should be a fun purchasing process. So we really believe those travel agencies who understand the local culture, who understand the communication with the people, who can help us give the travel purchasing experience really some value, really some fun.
Okay, so you want to give new life to the travel agency sector. What do you think, Timothy? Are you guys making Agoda like fun and to plan travel and book travel?
Yeah, I mean, we've started brand campaigns in India and Japan for the first time. So these are really, and a lot of the emphasis of that is bringing to life the dots of Agoda and bringing to life the sort of idea of Agoda as a place that's more than just a functional website. So we've engaged in Japan a couple of local comedians called the Banana Men to sort of help. Have seen this, right? Yeah. And we've got a Bollywood actress in India who I don't know, but the Indians know very, very well to sort of sing the story about that. So we're trying to get a lot more creative and innovative in how we tell the Agoda story.
Brand marketing versus the usual performance marketing and putting character into your
and we actually talk. So we're famous for our sort of 5 coloured dots. We've given them a life and a cute nickname of Agoji. So these kind of like living things that can kind of engage with customers and be a little bit more joyful. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to another trend. And Kei, you picked robotics automation as another trend. I think we actually seeing it in Singapore as well during the pandemic. We had Spot the robot. Basically, he was the social distancer in our parks, and we walked too close to each other. Spot would come and price us apart. So that's what we do. And I read in an article that the Japanese government set a plan that by 2025, every household will embrace a robotic lifestyle that entails safe, comfortable, and convenient living with the help of companion machines.
Right.
So I'm going to share a video with you right now. Okay, let's just watch this video.
まあ、メッセージに、まあこれからだ。だから、多分できないだろうなって。諦めてたというか。
迷惑ばっかりかけて人のために何もできていないなっていう気持ちがすごく強かったです。
自分の体を自由に動かすことができない方々はかなり大勢いるし、我々とてね、高齢になってくれば立つことも難しくなるかもしれないし、歩くこともできなくなるかもしれない、社会の荷物になっているかも、あるいはもう家族とかが自分の介護とかで苦しんでしまうかもしれないというふうに思うと本当に辛くなってしまう。それをどうやったら解消できるかってことに我々はね、人生を使いたいと思っているし、それが我々の役目であると。
Okay, so you get the picture, and Kei, you want to speak to this trend?
Yeah, so first you need to kind of understand the context where the Japan, is. So it's an aging society, a lot of seniors, and the society is really maturing, and then we have a lot of problem, like a shortage of labor first of all, right? And the seniors, and then also with disabilities. So my dad, for example, and he was suffering Alzheimer for the longest time, and then so a lot of societal problem already happening. I think it's Japan is the one country that which can actually show some example of the how the humanity is actually going to handle the challenges when the countries actually get matured. I think this is definitely relevant to the travel and tourism industry.
Absolutely. I mean, the aging population is everywhere, right? I mean, China is having it, Singapore is having it as well, and in Singapore now, in Seoul. I read a statistic that says that South Korea actually has the lowest fertility rate.
Right.
So as a population, it's also declining. So
we had it in Thailand last year was the first year where there were more deaths than births in Thailand, in literally the history of tracking.
right. So that changing demographics influences the way we market travel as well. So have you thought about that at Agoda?
Well, that's part of the branding, right? It's because not all these older people are going to be found in meta search or on general search. So we've got to get to Indians and Japanese via branding marketing, and we're into it now. Yeah.
Right. And by the way, speaking of robotics, I mean, we're seeing a lot of deep automation at airports in Asia, right? Incheon is lots of robots walking around, and I believe one day we'll have more robots than people at the Incheon airport. But by the way, did you know that the best-selling attraction in Tokyo pre-pandemic was the robot?
Robot cafe.
Yeah, the robot restaurant, which unfortunately...
A robot restaurant, yes. Right.
Which unfortunately has closed for good, So you see, even robots cannot survive the pandemic. But so give us one idea of how you see deep automation delivering intelligent services in travel.
Well, the bigger one that we're doing is also obviously personalization and targeting, so that every consumer gets a different experience, different offers, different things pushed to them based on what we've learned about them and what we can glean from other data points. That's the biggest one. But the one I want to keep talking about, I think I mention it every time I'm fortunate enough to be on stage somewhere, is how messed up hospitality tech is, right? And how much we need to be able to get deep automation going in hospitality tech. The fact that we went through 3 years of COVID and we still don't have touchless check-ins, anywhere at scale, it drives me bananas. And the fact that the history of my booking behavior can't be shared with Marriott or anybody so that my experience can be tailored more to me is crazy. So I continue my plea for the industry to get hospitality tech sorted out.
We had a startup during the innovation stage this morning that had this hotel experience app, right? And clearly to our debate, I mean, travel has wasted a good opportunity.
Wasted a good opportunity, indeed.
During the pandemic to create something new. Okay, Mary, give us an idea of how it can deliver intelligent services in travel.
I think technology is really scary. They can do everything, but for me, I still don't want to be in the future a robot trainer as my career. So I want to go to the hotel to meet someone, a concierge, to have a hug, have a smell. So I don't want to give the example.
So we'll have hotels for high touch, but hotels with high tech. But high tech can actually lead to higher touch if you do it well. Kei, give us an idea of how you see it.
I am personally excited about the future, like autonomous driving, with combination with the virtual reality. So, because this is actually idea to kind of to make your downtime or more productive, and then also entertaining, and then maybe the educational too. Right? For example, I love road trips. And then if I hit the road and then, it takes especially here in the United States, I drive like 6 hours and 7 hours, 8 hours, right? And then while I'm driving, I definitely wanted to learn and I want to be entertained, I want to be actually see other, the landscape.
He doesn't want any downtime. Yeah. Has anybody tried the Waymo service here?
I haven't tried it.
Okay, be good to find out your experience about it because Waymo is offering the,
Yeah.
Okay.
But with the autonomous driving, the combination with the autonomous driving, that is going to be a game changer, I think so.
Wow. I can imagine like sitting in and karaokeing and then. Okay, we're gonna end this tour with rapid fire. Okay,
Yep.
Tim, what's the most interesting market to watch?
Well, at the moment in Asia, it's the Japan-Korea double combo, right? These markets have just opened up. It's the most exciting thing to happen for us in 2 or 3 years. The Koreans are now going out of the country like crazy. Our business has rebounded so powerfully, and people are pouring into Japan like crazy. So that double act has got everybody in Asia smiling and really excited.
Okay, so Kei, the market I should avoid.
Russia.
Yeah. God, yeah. Boy, wow.
Mary, the most misunderstood market.
China. Our Chinese language is so beautiful and the Chinese food are so delicious. China.
Okay, one tech that will blaze the trail in Asia in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, I'm going to build on what Mary said. I think this kind of short-form video commerce is going to be just huge in Asia, maybe in the rest of the world. We already saw it in China. Mary touched on it, but this is the exciting technology. Yeah.
Okay, Mary?
I would like to choose Web3.
Web3, okay.
Yeah, I think Web3 can help a lot of people openly sharing, openly building something in Asia.
Yeah, the promise of the decentralization,
Yes.
distributed. You talked about
Yeah.
it. The possibility of distributing your identity.
Yeah, right.
In a safe manner.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I'll probably pick the robotics.
Robotics.
But with the virtual reality. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
One travel titan to watch in Asia, Mary, other than Agoda.
I won't pick Agoda. Sorry. I think trip.com.
Pardon?
Trip.
Trip.com.
Come on.
Trip.com. Okay, what about you?
I was wondering these questions, and then I probably picked the EQ in Japan. This is a great OTA. It's definitely not under the radar for a lot of people. It is actually backed by the Yahoo Japan and SoftBank, and then they're doing incredibly great job, in a luxury accommodation space. So
Yeah, I want to build it because that's a great answer. For those who don't know, they target high-end hotels only, like 3,000 or 4,000 of the top hotels, 4 and 5 star. So they're probably the #1 seller online of like Four Seasons and Mandarin Oriental, which probably makes them the #1 online luxury travel brand in the world.
in the world,
Right, in the world.
I think so.
No one's going to be selling the sorts of volumes that they sell at the high-end hotels. It's an
Yeah,
incredible
and they
brand.
remain super laser focused since the
Right.
beginning,
Yeah.
right? No deviation from their route.
100%.
Tim, what about you?
I was
Other than
going to
Agoda.
choose Agoda, but I suppose if I can't choose Agoda, I will say low-cost carriers. I think there's
Thank you.
Yeah, because there's so much going on there, and the opening up of markets and the ability to travel cheaply is going to be critical to what this next phase of travel. So
Yeah, actually, as we speak, there's a new airline that's taking off and just got its license. It's My Airline in Malaysia. So
Though I do want to say Bonza is a stupid name for an airline. I can say that as an Australian. Like if you don't know what
Bonza.
Bonza means, it's how my great uncle would describe a great situation. It's like, yeah, it's a very cheesy word for an airline.
Okay, let's move from Titan. What about Trailblazer? Who's the trailblazer that you're watching in Asia?
for me, it's the whole country of Japan. Like the whole, I think there's so much we're going to see out of coming in the next 2 or 3 years in Japan, because everyone's going to want to go, and the market has been prepped and ready for this. So I think I'm excited about what's going to.
What about a company?
Trailblazer? Atlas.
Okay, we'll allow you that. We'll allow you that. Kei, you cannot name your company.
I actually wanted to pick this company called Kabuku Style.
Kabuku Style.
Japan. So, yeah, it is clearly the startup, and but they are heavily investing in the. So first of all, they call themselves the biggest travel subscription player in the world. And then I don't know. I don't exactly know. What the how big the size is, but but anyway. So what they're doing is actually very interesting. So they are deep in the game of a fintech and the NFT and Web3. And this CEO guy is a quite fascinating guy. I met him in Singapore along the WiT Japan, and he's actually coming to WiT Japan and North Asia.
Good. Okay. Well, that's March 2nd and 3rd next year in Tokyo. Okay. So that's one travel trailblazer. Okay. So if you, since the theme is also traveler, if you, the traveler, were a cocktail, Tim, what would you be?
I would be a lemongrass martini. A little bit of Thailand flavor.
Mary?
I will pick up the Asian Chinese Mao Tai.
Okay, Asian Chinese Mao Tai. What about you?
I definitely go with the whiskey highball. The whiskey highball is actually great in Japan. It costs only $1, and then it's available everywhere in a convenience store.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's handy. It tastes good.
So I can just see us going to Tokyo to have this whiskey highball, a Big Mac, and sake flavored Kit Kat for sure. Okay.
Served by a robot.
So finally, I also asked them for keywords, to describe the new world of Asia. And Timothy, you gave
Environmental tipping point.
environmental tipping point. Kei?
Crazy rich Asians and crazy diversity. So
Okay. And Mary, you gave
Wonderful collaboration in Asia.
collaboration, simplicity, right?
Yeah.
You said those words. So what I did was I put these words into my AI art machine, and I got this image.
Wow.
this is good. Yeah.
Did you see this image?
So the AI just completely generated, right?
Yeah, this is AI generated. It did it in 15 seconds, and I chose cyberpunk style, crazy rich Asians living at environmental tipping point and having to collaborate and simplify. This is our future. So it gave me these 4 images. So all of you, pick your image. Which is the one that you would pick to describe the new world of Asia? So is it the top? By hand of applause, loudest wins. Right hand, top right. Top left. Okay, we're not sure. Bottom left. Okay. What about bottom right? Who do you think wins?
I think it's someone at the bottom here. Maybe,
Bottom right. Okay.
Bottom left.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you to my tour guides, Tim, Mary, and Kei, for taking us on a tour of the New World of Asia.